Her family sold her as infertile, but the vampire got her pregnant in 3 days. Part 2. Previously in Part 1, Talia Jensen was sold by her family after being labeled infertile, only to discover her true power when Dorian, the vampire who bought her, awakened something ancient inside her. In just 3 nights, the impossible happened. She became pregnant with a child prophesied for centuries. Now Part 2 begins. The storm finally broke just before dawn. Rain softened to a steady whisper over the slate roof of Dorian's estate, and the thunder rolled away into the mountains like a retreating army. The quiet should have been calming, should have made Talia feel safer, but her heartbeat still drummed in her ears long after the fight ended. The creature's body had already dissolved into ash. Dorian said scouts always did that. Better for them, he muttered, because it leaves nothing behind for us to study. Talia sat curled up on a long velvet couch near the fireplace, wrapped in one of Dorian's heavy black robes. It swallowed her frame, but she didn't mind. It was warm, soft, and it smelled faintly of cedar and clean night air, like him. Her mind was a whirlwind. I blasted something across her room. With my hand. With my magic? She wasn't sure what to even call it. She stared at her palm now as though it belonged to someone else. The faint tingling from earlier was gone, but she could still recall the moment perfectly. The energy rising, the heat, the pull in her stomach, the instinct to protect. She had reacted before she even thought. A hybrid child already changing her body. A vampire prophecy 20 generations old. A world she didn't know existed now hunting her. "How are you feeling?" Dorian asked quietly. He stepped into the room carrying a silver tray with a teacup, teapot, and a plate of warm biscuits dusted with sugar. He set it down gently on the table between them. Talia blinked. "You made tea?" He gave a slight smile. "I heated the water. The teapot did the rest." Though he didn't need to eat human food, Dorian was surprisingly attentive with human rituals. She wondered how long he'd practiced being someone people could feel safe around. "Drink," he said softly. "You need warmth." She lifted the cup with shaky fingers. Her hands were steadier than they had been earlier, but the tremor was still there. The warm chamomile scent drifted upward, calming her already. Dorian sat across from her, forearms resting on his knees, eyes steady on her face. "You did exceptionally well tonight," he said. She choked out a breathless laugh. "I threw a demon across the room and almost passed out afterward." "You reacted instinctively," Dorian corrected gently. "You protected yourself. That is more than most awakened humans can do the first time." "Awakened," she repeated, tasting the word. "Like I've become something. You've become what you were always meant to be." She looked down, wrapping both hands around the warm cup. "But I wasn't meant to be anything," she murmured. "Not in Briar Hollow. Not in my family." Her voice cracked. "I was the useless one. The broken one. The mistake." Dorian reached forward, placing his cool hand gently over hers. "You were never useless. They simply couldn't see you." A tear slid down her cheek, surprising her. Dorian brushed it away with his thumb. Her breath caught. "Do you regret leaving them?" he asked quietly. She shook her head immediately. "No, I regret staying with them that long." "Good," he said softly, "because now you get to decide who you become." She took another sip of tea, her heartbeat slowly steadying. "Dorian," she whispered, "why was that scout here so soon? You said we'd have weeks." "I miscalculated." A muscle in his jaw tightened. "Or someone leaked your presence." "Who would do that?" "Vampire clans," he said. "The elders, rival bloodlines, human hunters who know of the prophecy. There are many who fear what your child represents." Her stomach tightened. "He isn't even born yet," she murmured. "Which makes you their primary target," he said, "if they destroy the vessel." "Don't call me that," she whispered sharply. His eyes softened. "You're right. That was careless. You're not a vessel. You are." He stopped himself, but she caught the unfinished thought. "You are mine." The silence stretched, warm and heavy. Talia changed the subject first. "What happened to the creature's body?" "It turned to ash," he replied. "Scouts are low-ranking. Disposable. They exist to test boundaries. Tonight was a warning." "A warning of what?" "That they know where you are." Her breath shook. "And they will come again," he added. Talia set down her teacup, her fingers tightening. "I need to learn how to defend myself," she said. Dorian straightened slightly. "You will. but you are still early in your awakening. I don't care, she cut in. I won't sit here helpless while you fight everything alone. His eyebrows rose a little, not disapproving, but impressed. Talia, his voice softened. Your powers are tied to your heart, your instincts, and the baby's development. The more connected you feel, the stronger you'll become. But training too fast can overwhelm you. I don't have time to be overwhelmed. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded once. Very well, he said. We'll begin today. Relief washed through her, but also fear. Fear of failing. Fear of the unknown. Fear of becoming something she didn't understand. We'll start with the basics, Dorian continued. Feeling your energy, directing it, controlling it. Every ability has rules. Okay, she said, exhaling slowly. Okay, but first you need rest. I'm fine, she said. He gave her a look that made her cheeks warm. Your pulse says otherwise. I'm not a porcelain doll. You're also carrying a supernatural child, he reminded her gently. You need more rest than the average human. She scowled. So, I'm delicate and dangerous? Fantastic combination. Dorian actually laughed, low, warm, and real. It startled her. She found herself smiling despite everything. But the moment was cut short by a sharp bell-like chime echoing through the estate. She sat up. What was that? Dorian rose instantly, expression shifting from gentle to alert. Someone is at the northern gate. At this hour? Yes. His posture changed subtly, more upright, more lethal. Stay here, he said. Not a chance, she replied, standing up. Talia, if something is coming for us, I need to know. I need to see. He exhaled slowly, then offered his arm. Stay close. She slipped her hand into the crook of his elbow. As they walked toward the gate corridor, the torches lining the walls flickered. The floors were cold beneath her bare feet, the stones smooth and ancient. Every hallway in the estate had a story. She could feel it in the walls. They reached a vantage balcony overlooking the iron northern gate far below. A tall figure in a hooded cloak stood outside it, unmoving. Dorian frowned. Who is that? Talia whispered. I can't see their face, he murmured. But they are not a scout. Are they dangerous? Possibly. Lightning lit the grounds for a split second, and Talia saw it. The figure had glowing blue eyes. Not silver. Not black. Blue. Dorian stiffened. No, he muttered. It's too early. Too early for what? He stepped forward, gripping the railing. The hooded figure lifted their head slowly toward the balcony, as if sensing them. Talia Jensen. A voice called, thundering across the courtyard. Talia flinched. How do they know my name? The voice didn't belong to a creature. It was too smooth, too controlled. I seek the life-bearer. Dorian growled low, a sound so primal it made the air vibrate. Talia grabbed his arm. Dorian, who is that? He turned to her, eyes glowing dangerously bright. That, he said, is a member of the Oracle Order. Her breath hitched. The what? He turned to her, eyes glowing dangerously bright. That, he said, is a member of the Oracle Order. Her breath hitched. The what? One of the ancient lines of prophets who know the prophecy better than anyone, he said. If they've come here, it means the prophecy has reached the high circle. Is that bad? It means, Dorian said slowly, that the entire supernatural world now knows you're carrying the hybrid child. Her pulse pounded in her throat. The figure below lifted a hand, pressing it flat against the gate. Blue energy rippled outward. We come in peace, the voice declared. But time is limited. Talia stepped back from the balcony rail. Dorian grabbed her hand. We're not letting them in. The hooded figure spoke again, this time directly toward her, as if sensing her fear through the stone walls. You cannot hide forever, Talia. The war has already begun. Talia's stomach twisted violently. Not from fear this time. Instinct. The baby moved. Not a flutter. Not a small kick. A sharp, pulsing push of energy radiated outward from her belly, like a warning. She gasped, grabbing the railing. Dorian was at her side in an instant. Talia, she pressed her hand to her stomach. The baby felt something. Strong. Wrong. Dorian lifted her chin so she would look at him. Then we trust that instinct. We keep the gate closed. Below, the hooded visitor lowered their hand. You cannot avoid destiny, the voice echoed. And then, with a soft rush of blue light, the figure vanished into the storm. Just disappeared. Talia stared at the empty gate, trembling. Dorian, what does this mean? He pulled her into his chest, arms wrapping around her as if trying to shield her from the entire world. It means, he said darkly, that every faction now knows you exist, and they will come for you. Some to protect you, some to destroy you. Her breath stuttered. And us. He held her tighter. We fight, he whispered. We learn. We survive. Then he lowered his mouth to her ear. And I will kill anyone who tries to take you from me. Talia closed her eyes. Fear, power, destiny, love, all wrapped into one impossible storm. But one thing crystallized inside her with fierce clarity. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't hiding. She was ready. Because if the world wanted her child, they have to go through her first. The storm outside had quieted, but the silence inside Dorian's mansion felt heavier than thunder. Talia sat on the edge of the velvet chaise in his study, one hand pressed to her stomach, the other trembling slightly. She felt different, not just tired or overwhelmed, something alive under her skin, like a pulse of energy that wasn't her own. Something aware, listening, watching. Dorian paced like a caged animal. His usually calm eyes, silver with that soft, ancient glow, were sharp, restless, almost feral. Your power is not stabilizing, he muttered. It's growing again. It's not just me, Talia whispered. Her voice shook. The baby is changing too. Dorian froze mid-step. She looked up at him, eyes wide. She's been talking to me. He stared. Talia, babies do not. I know how it sounds, she said quickly, but I'm not imagining it. She lifted his hand and pressed it against her belly. Just listen. At first there was only stillness. Then, a faint warmth pulsed beneath his palm. Not physical warmth, something deeper. Like an echo of thought, a feeling, a presence. A tiny voice that wasn't made of sound but emotion. A whisper of protectiveness. A flicker of warning. Dorian inhaled sharply. That should be impossible. You said that about my pregnancy, too. He almost smiled despite the dread in his eyes. I suppose I did. Another pulse answered him. A spark of golden light beneath Talia's skin, visible for half a second before fading. Dorian's breath caught. Talia, your child just used magic. Before either could process it, the front gates of the estate screamed open. Both of them jolted as the metallic clang echoed across the mansion. Dorian turned his head sharply. His pupils narrowed, fangs lowering instinctively. No, he hissed. Not tonight. Not now. Who is it? Talia whispered. He didn't answer with words. He spoke with the kind of silence that meant danger. The study doors blew open a moment later. Wind spiraled around Dorian like a shield, his reflexive magic triggered, shadows stretching, ready to fight. But the figure who stepped inside didn't stumble or flinch. He walked as though he owned the room. Tall, impossibly handsome, skin pale as moonlight, hair as black as spilled ink, eyes glowing with a predatory crimson edge. A smile curved his mouth. Dorian, you've been selfish, old friend. Talia felt her blood freeze. This wasn't a creature. This wasn't a man. This was something older, hungrier, beautiful enough to make her heart misstep, and terrifying enough to make her instinct scream. Dorian moved in front of her instantly, body tense. Cashin Draven. Leave. Cashin's eyes slid past him, straight to Talia. Their gazes met, and she felt her stomach tighten, not from fear, but from an overwhelming sense of being recognized. Cashin inhaled, slow and reverent, as if her presence was perfume. So it's true, he murmured. The star blood lives again, and she carries the air. Talia swallowed hard. Who are you? Cashin bowed slightly, eyes never leaving hers. I'm the one fate wrote for you long before these walls existed. Dorian snarled. She is not yours. Cashin chuckled quietly. She is not yours either. Cashin. Dorian's aura flared, crackling with shadow. Cashin lifted a single finger. The air thickened instantly. The lights dimmed. Dust trembled off the bookshelves. Do you feel that, Talia? Cashin whispered, stepping toward her slowly. The pull between us? Your blood recognizes mine. Talia didn't want to admit it, but her heartbeat did stumble. Something ancient coiled in the air between them, a thread of energy tugging at her chest like a memory she shouldn't have. But before Cashin could move closer, a sudden pain shot through Talia's stomach. She gasped. Dorian turned instantly. "What's wrong?" Talia grabbed his arm, panting. "The baby she's—" A golden burst of light exploded across the room. Dorian swept his cloak around her protectively. Cashin shielded his face, laughing almost delightedly. "Oh, she's already defending you." His smile deepened. "My little star has spirit. She is not yours." Talia snapped through clenched teeth. Cashin's eyes glowed. "Not yet." Dorian stepped forward, rage boiling off him. "Touch her, and I'll tear your heart from your chest." "You're bold," Cashin purred. "For someone who knows he can't defeat me. I don't need to defeat you." Dorian's voice turned lethal. "I need only keep her from you. And I will burn the world down before I let you have her." Cashin studied him for a moment, then turned his attention back to Talia with disturbing softness. "You feel it too," he said quietly, "even if you won't admit it." Talia stiffened. "I feel nothing." Cashin stepped closer, too close, and the floorboards groaned beneath the pressure of his power. "You feel the prophecy in your bones," he whispered. "Your child calls to me. You call to me." Dorian growled, stepping between them again. "Enough." Cashin smirked. "As protective as ever. But she is not yours by destiny, Dorian. She is power. She is lineage. And she was meant for my bloodline. She was meant for herself," Talia snapped. "Not for either of you." Cashin's smile dropped. Not in anger, but in fascination. "In centuries," he murmured, "no one has ever spoken to me like that." The energy in the room shifted. Dorian braced. Talia held her ground, even though her legs trembled. Cashin lowered his voice, suddenly tender in a way that made the hair on her arms stand up. "I will return for you," he promised. "For both of you. You will not cross this threshold again," Dorian spat. Cashin's smile returned, slow and cruel. "Watch me." With a burst of shadow and cold wind, he vanished. The mansion creaked as silence swallowed everything. Talia collapsed back onto the chaise. Dorian was at her side instantly. "Are you hurt?" "No," she whispered. "But the baby—" She reacted to him, like she knew him. Dorian exhaled, jaw tight. Cashin will not stop. He believes the child is his right. "Why?" she demanded. "Why me? Why this baby? What is the star blood?" Dorian hesitated. "Too long." "Dorian," she whispered, gripping his sleeve. "Tell me the truth." He sank to one knee in front of her, silver eyes luminous and conflicted. "You were never infertile, Talia. You were protected. Your body wasn't weak. It was sealed." "Sealed?" she echoed. "Your lineage is the last surviving bloodline that can create a hybrid powerful enough to shift the balance of every supernatural realm." He took her hand, voice breaking. "You were hidden for your own safety. My parents sold me," she whispered. "They didn't know what you were." And then he said the words that made Talia's breath leave her body. "You weren't meant to be found until now. Until me." "But Cashin, he was meant to claim you first." Talia stared. "What does that mean?" "It means," Dorian whispered, "that the prophecy never accounted for love. Only power." Her heart slammed in her chest. "Dorian," he pressed his forehead to hers. And in that trembling moment, everything in him warred between hunger and restraint. "Talia," he said softly, "I need you to understand this. I will fight Cashin. I will fight the prophecy, the ancient laws, the entire vampire council, everything." His voice cracked. "But I won't fight you." Talia felt her cheeks burn. "I'm not asking you to." Their lips were inches apart, when her stomach glowed again, bright, violent, warning. A voice, small, fierce, unmistakable, echoed in her mind. "He's coming back." Talia's eyes widened. "Dorian," she's speaking again. "Cashin, he's not gone." Dorian stood abruptly, shadows swirling around him like a storm. "Talia," he said, gripping her shoulders, "we're out of time." The child pulsed once more. This time it wasn't warning. It was rage. Dorian stiffened. "Talia, your child is choosing sides." Talia swallowed. "Whose side?" Dorian met her eyes and whispered, "Yours." The mansion didn't sleep after Cashin vanished. Every window rattled with restless wind. Every candle flickered without touching a draft. Every hallway felt alive, breathing, waiting. Dorian didn't leave Talia's side, not even for a second. He led her through the dim corridor to a room she'd never seen before, a sanctuary tucked deep in the heart of the estate, lined with protective runes and ancient steel. "Stay here," he murmured, checking the doorway twice. "This is the safest room in the house." "What makes it safe?" she whispered. Dorian rested his palm on the carved symbols along the wall. They glowed under his touch like soft moonlight. It was built to keep out creatures like Cashin. Talia stared at the luminous sigils. "Then why didn't you put me here before?" Dorian paused. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost ashamed. "Because I didn't want to hide you from the world." His fingers grazed hers, hesitant. "You've been locked away your entire life. I wanted you to breathe freely here." Her heart folded inward. Always protected, but never trapped. She stepped closer. "You've never once treated me like something fragile." Dorian's gaze softened. "You're not fragile, Talia. You're the most powerful thing I've ever touched." Her stomach fluttered. The baby pulsed lightly beneath her skin, almost like approval. The sudden vision. A wave of dizziness hit her. Talia grabbed the edge of the table. Dorian caught her instantly, hands steady at her waist. "Talia, I saw something," she whispered. The room dissolved into blinding gold. A flicker, a whisper, a flash of a battlefield drenched in starlight. Then a voice, small and clear, echoed inside her. "He's lying." Talia gasped, gripping Dorian's sleeve. "What did you see?" he demanded. "It was the baby," she panted. "A warning," she said. Her breath trembled. "She said someone is lying." Dorian stiffened. "Cashin." No, Talia shook her head, confused. It didn't feel like he was the one she meant. The realization hit her like cold water. Her eyes widened. She stepped back from Dorian, not out of fear, but shock. "Dorian, is there something you haven't told me?" He exhaled heavily, ancient sorrow etched in every line of his face. "Talia, the prophecy didn't start with you." His voice broke. "It started with me." The truth about Dorian. Conscious of her gaze, Dorian lowered himself onto one knee, not in devotion, but in confession. "I wasn't searching for the Starblood because of the council," he said quietly. "I was searching because I was cursed." Talia swallowed. "A curse?" He nodded once. "Centuries ago, a seer told me, you will find the Starblood only once. And when you do, she will either become your salvation," he hesitated, "or your destruction." Talia's breath hitched. "And you think I'm a destruction part?" No, his answer came too fast, too raw. "Never that. But I feared." His voice dropped. "I feared that loving you would doom you." The word loving hung between them. Real, heavy, impossible to take back. Talia's heart hammered painfully against her ribs. "You love me?" she whispered. Dorian looked away, jaw clenched. "I have loved you since the moment I saw you standing on that porch," he admitted. "I loved you before I knew your name, before I knew your destiny, before I knew your womb would carry the child every realm is searching for." Talia couldn't breathe. "You can't love me," she whispered. "You barely know me." "I know your heartbeat," he murmured. "I know your courage. I know your fear. I know your loneliness." His thumb brushed her cheek. "And your power." Her knees nearly gave out. He steadied her, slowly, carefully, as though she were the most precious thing he had ever touched. "Dorian." The room shuddered. Both froze. A low vibration rolled through the walls, the sound of runes straining under an outside force. Dorian's head snapped toward the door. "No," he breathed. "Not now." The runes glowed red, then purple, then black. Talia grabbed his arm. "What's happening?" Dorian's voice was barely a whisper. "Someone is breaking through." The second arrival. A crack splintered across the ceiling. Then another. The protective symbols flared one final time before going dark. A chilling breeze swept the room. The candles blew out, and then the shadows peeled apart. A figure stepped through the cracked doorway. Cashin Draven, but not like before. His eyes blazed with hunger. His aura rippled with obsession. His hair fell wild over his shoulders. His voice was no longer calm. "Talia." Her name left his lips like a vow, like a prayer, like a possession. Dorian shielded her immediately. You won't touch her. Cashin's gaze never left Talia. You called to me. I did nothing of the sort, she snapped. Cashin took one step further. The air tightened like a fist around her. No, Cashin murmured. But the child did. Talia flinched. Dorian trembled with rage. You will not lay claim to that baby. A wicked grin curved Cashin's lips. Oh, I don't claim the child, he purred. I claim her. Talia felt the baby pulse again, violently. Dorian's hands tightened around her. Cashin tilted his head. She fights me. He smiled wider. I like that. A blast of golden energy erupted from Talia's stomach. Cashin caught the shockwave on his chest, sliding back a few inches. He laughed. Oh yes, she truly is my opposite. My equal. Dorian stepped forward, voice lethal. You are not her anything. Cashin's gaze sharpened. And you are delusional if you think you can keep her. You'll die before you take one step toward her. Cashin smirked. You think you can kill me every time. Yet here I stand. Again. Talia's voice cut through both men. Stop. They turned. And froze. She was glowing. Not faintly. Not softly. Her entire body shimmered like she'd swallowed a star. Her hair lifted in a halo of golden white light. Her eyes were burning with power. Both of you, she whispered. Listen to me. The baby pulsed again, and her voice grew stronger. I'm not choosing between you. Cashin frowned. Dorian steadied her gently. Talia lifted her chin. I choose myself. The golden energy surged outward in a tidal wave. Dorian covered her with his body. Cashin threw up his arms to shield his face. Light filled the room. Blinding. Beautiful. Terrifying. When it faded, Cashin staggered, stunned. Dorian stared at her like she was a miracle. Talia's knees buckled. Dorian caught her instantly, lowering her to the floor, holding her like she was carved from breath and light. Her head fell against his chest. Dorian, she whispered. Yes, my love. I think. Her voice trembled. I think the baby is choosing war. The room was still glowing when Talia collapsed in Dorian's arms, her breath coming fast and uneven. Cashin staggered back, staring at her with something between awe and fury rippling across his face. Talia, Dorian whispered urgently, cup at her face, look at me. Stay with me. She blinked slowly. I'm okay. Just dizzy. Cashin's lip curled. Not in malice, but in something far more dangerous. You're not just a prophecy, he breathed. You're the fulcrum of it. Dorian growled, stepping between them. You will not come closer. Cashin ignored him. His eyes stayed locked on Talia, studying her as if her body was made of secrets. That burst of energy, he murmured, that was not your power alone. Talia's hand drifted to her stomach. It wasn't. It was her. Cashin tilted his head. She's stronger than any starborn child I've heard of. And she is mine. Talia snapped, surprising even herself. Cashin blinked. Slowly. Respectfully. Almost admiringly. But before he could respond, the baby pulsed again, hard enough that Talia gasped. Dorian's face changed instantly. Something's wrong. Talia shook her head weakly. No, something's happening. The rune-carved floor beneath them began to glow. Gold, white, silver, then blinding starlight. Cashin stepped back. This is impossible. Dorian knelt beside Talia. What do you feel? She swallowed, voice shaking. The baby. She's pushing. But she's early, Dorian. Too early. No, Cashin's expression darkened. Not early. She's coming exactly when the prophecy said she would. Talia clenched Dorian's arm. What prophecy? Dorian shot Cashin a look of pure venom. Do not speak. Cashin took a step forward. She deserves the truth. I said do not speak. Talia screamed as another wave of energy rolled through her. Both men fell silent. Dorian leaned closer, voice trembling with fear he rarely showed. Talia, your body is not in labor. This isn't physical. It's magical. Cashin nodded grimly. She's not giving birth. She's being summoned. Talia's voice rose, panicked. What does that mean? Cashin's eyes softened, shockingly gentle. Your child has chosen her moment, and her moment is now. The floor split with cracks of pure light. A wind surged through the room. Walls shook. The protective runes flared open instead of closed. Dorian lifted Talia in his arms. She's coming. Now, Cashin whispered, the Starborn arrives. The birth of the Starborn. The world blurred. Light, sound, magic pressing like a tidal wave. Talia clutched Dorian's shoulders, crying out as a bolt of energy ripped through her. Not pain, but release, like her soul opening. Dorian held her tightly, whispering, I'm here. I'm here. Don't you leave me. Cashin moved to brace her other side, his cold hand steadying her back before Dorian could shove him away. I do not touch her, Cashin murmured. I steady her. For the child. Dorian hesitated, then nodded once. Both men supported her. The energy intensified. Talia screamed again, but it wasn't fear. It was power. A column of white light erupted from her stomach. The entire mansion shook as though bowing. When the light vanished, a small cry broke the silence. Talia sagged forward, trembling. Dorian caught her, guiding her down gently. And there, cradled in the glow of fading magic, lay a baby girl. Tiny, perfect, skin luminous as moonlight, eyes glowing softly gold, even though newborns should not open their eyes at all. Cashin stared silently, breathless. Dorian froze completely, and Talia sobbed, overwhelmed with a love so fierce it nearly tore her apart. My baby, she whispered, reaching shaking hands toward her. Dorian placed the child into her arms as though delivering crown. The baby stared at Talia, really stared, aware, ancient, knowing, and cooed softly. Dorian inhaled sharply. She knows you. Cashin stepped closer, voice trembling in a way Talia had never heard. She knows everything. Dorian glared. Step back. But Cashin shook his head. No, his voice was low. She called both of us here. The baby's eyes flickered between gold and deep starlit blue. She lifted a hand and touched Cashin's finger. A spark shot from her tiny palm. Cashin gasped and sank to one knee. Not in pain, in reverence. She chose me, he whispered. She recognizes my bloodline. Dorian stiffened, teeth bared. Back away from them. But Talia placed a hand on Dorian's arm. He's not hurting her. Dorian hesitated, conflicted. Cashin stood slowly. Your child is the bridge between bloodlines. She's not mine by right, but she's connected to my lineage. Talia blinked at him. Then why are you kneeling? Cashin's eyes shone unexpectedly. Because, he said quietly, she rejected me. Talia froze. Rejected? He nodded. She touched me. She saw my intentions. And she turned away. The baby cooed again. This time, she reached for Dorian. Dorian's entire chest shattered open with emotion. Cashin closed his eyes. Your child has chosen her guardian. He swallowed. And it is not me. Silence fell. Pure, heavy, monumental. Then Cashin straightened, composed again, but not cruel. I will not harm you, he said softly. Any of you. The prophecy is fulfilled. The war does not need to happen. Dorian scoffed. You expect me to believe you're surrendering? Cashin's gaze moved to the baby. No, he answered quietly. I expect you to believe her. The baby pulsed golden light. Cashin stepped back, then further, then stopped at the doorway, head bowed. You have won, Talia Jensen, he said. You and your family. Family. The word echoed in the room. Dorian looked at Talia. Talia looked at the baby. Cashin looked at all three of them. And know this, he added, eyes softening once more. If you ever need me, if she ever needs me, I will come. For the first time, Dorian didn't argue. Cashin vanished into shadow, and the room was silent again. After the storm, hours later, Talia lay in the quiet of the sanctuary room, her baby sleeping against her chest, Dorian watching them like he was seeing his entire eternity unfold in real time. Dorian, she whispered. He moved closer. Yes, my love. You knew the prophecy, but you never tried to force me into anything. I would never, he murmured. Your life is yours. Your child is yours. Everything that comes next is your choice. Talia smiled weakly. I think the baby already made most of the choices. Dorian laughed softly, a sound she didn't hear often enough. And what will her name be? He asked. Talia looked down at her daughter, at her glowing eyes, her star-pulsing skin. Her tiny hand curled in sleep, and she whispered, Aurora. Dorian exhaled softly. Dawn. Exactly, Talia said. She's the start of something new. Dorian pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Then Aurora she is. The baby stirred, emitting a faint pulse of golden light. Talia smiled. She's saying she approves. Dorian chuckled again, then kissed Aurora's tiny forehead. His voice softened into something like awe. Welcome to the world, Aurora Vale. The peace. For the first time since everything began, the mansion was calm. No storms. No ruptured runes. No shattering prophecies. Only quiet. Warmth. New life. Talia leaned into Dorian's shoulder, exhausted but full. Dorian wrapped his arms around both her and Aurora, protective and gentle all at once. She will never be hunted, he vowed softly. Not while I live. She won't have to be, Talia whispered. She's stronger than all of us. Dorian smiled. Yes, but she won't face any of it alone. Talia lifted her gaze to his. I love you, Dorian. He froze for a heartbeat, then melted completely, irrevocably. And I, he whispered, kissing her softly, have loved you from the moment I saw you. Aurora pulsed warm light between them, as if giving her tiny blessing. And just like that, the prophecy ended. The war dissolved. The child was safe. Love won. And for the first time in her life, Talia Jensen was truly, finally, beautifully free. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.